Your attention, please, America. There is before you one guy, Joe Friendly by name, proposing we face as a people how wrong things are and work out a solution. Ultimately, ceremoniously withdrawing our consent from our current government and its associated social forms, its economic network of the rich and their organs of control, the corporations, the banks, the media. We need a peaceful revolution, and I propose how we can do that. We face openly, out loud, how wrong things are, and we create a government in waiting so that when we ceremoniously withdraw our consent from our current regime, we then attach our consent to a new government, new people, new institutions that we talk through now. We begin that conversation now. What to replace what we got with. How we can, as a people, have intentional communities where we choose our fellow citizens with like interests, so we don't have to force ourselves so much to be friendlier than feels natural. I did propose 50 years ago, when I was beginning my design of an alternative government, I did propose that we provide opportunity for everyone to have their choice, living all white, all black, and mixed, and Asian included. We provide the full variety, but the big deal difference is we are generous with the money. That new face of America. A generosity with the money. Right now, as most of us know, a very few number of us have more wealth than all the rest. A handful have more net worth than more than half of the American population. That's not healthy. That's not right. That's what we replace. When our forefathers started America, power was a hereditary item, and they said no more of that. We're going to take the power and become a power of the people. A government of, for, and by the people, not just the powerful, the ones with the, whatever you call it, social standing, rank, place in the hierarchy of bloodline or whatever. The idea is to truly have equality happening. That's what we design our new government to be all about. Equality of power, opportunity. We have a democracy where we reason together for a change, where we all have access to the means of social discourse, discussion. That'd be the new plan for us and the world as well. So let's start that discussion. not only how wrong things are, but what we can do about it, what we can create to replace our faulty, inefficient, inadequate imitation of a democracy with a real democracy, people reasoning together, wealth shared fairly, justly. And while we're at it, a system of justice that really provides justice. Our legal system currently is a game with words and money. We can do a lot better than that. I've made a surprising scientific discovery, folks. I figured out that birthday is a big deal, that birthday needs rescue from the notions of astrology that are not consistent with science, but there are scientific reasons to consider birthday a big deal. And I will explain those to you, the people. I am a student of science, a degree from Caltech in electrical engineering. And what I figured out is that birthday is about the power of the sun in early neural development. The mathematics is fairly simple if you know trigonometry. That marriage of the line and the circle mathematics created called the sine cycle. That the solar energy flow to us here in the temperate zone of the northern hemisphere goes from 200 calories per square centimeter per day to about 4 times that, 800. From December, when the days are short, to June, when the days are long, it goes from 200 to about 800 and then back down. And that curve is why birthday is important. Birthday is what in mathematics they call the starting point, the phase of that sine cycle. Birthday is dimensional. It's the phase of the solar sine cycle, and nature has evolved to respond with systematic differences in our ways of being human beings. We can zoom in on that, learn a lot more about it, paying attention to it in those terms. Differences in early neural development. With the provision of modern heating and lighting, a lot of the seasonal effects have been diminished. We can choose as a people to make the best of the birthday differences. It might be best that we provide more environmental influence in the early neural development of the infant. Maybe when the seasons are kind and pleasurable, we can do the nature thing, and when they are destructive and cruel, we can do better than that. We can spare the October, November, December, January, February pains of cold. We can spare the infants that pain and create personalities, characters that are more positive than we've had in the past. So we can talk about it. We can deal with the quarrels, the disputes, the problems. We can address them. We can face them. We can acknowledge them. One of the things I've discovered is that the Old Testament story of the 12 sons of Jacob in Genesis are really lessons in the sun, up there in the sky, its influence, 12 versions of the sun. The 12 sons of Jacob and his daughter Dinah. The surprise, the 12 sons of Jacob. There is some dispute which son represents which time of year of birth. We can talk about it. I propose that I have worked out a matching of who's who, what the lessons are about, that the firstborn starts in the fall. And with that as a orientation, in Genesis 49:16, lo and behold, the son Dan is named by their father Jacob as the one we should make our judges, which I propose is those born January, February, midwinter. And since learning that about 40, 50 years ago, I've gone around, and when I meet these people, I propose that the Bible suggests we the people make them our judges. The idea is that if they are truly talented in being judges, we'll be able to see that. We can keep it on TV, on the internet. We can monitor them. There can be lots of monitoring of our public officials. That could be a new job for those people stuck at home or in a hospital or a nursing home or whatever. We will have a democracy achieved by officials being transparent, being monitored. And when something is objectionable, there'll be examination, study, correction, appropriate responses. I propose. That's the idea, America. That's the plan. There is this guy here. What's your name again, fella? Oh, you could have a frame of text underneath that tells my name, Joe Friendly, spelled like friendly. That's me. I didn't always have that name. I was born with the name Arthur Myron Rubin. Not quite born, but after a few days, my mother and father agreed on that name for me. Arthur Myron Rubin. But in my 30s, I chose to legally change it. I went to the appropriate court in New York City. They call it the New York Supreme Court. It's actually only a trial court. There are higher courts with not as fancy name, the appeals court. But anyhow, the appellate court is a higher court than our Supreme Court in New York. But anyhow, I got my name changed. I'm Joe Friendly, Joseph W. Friendly. I am not necessarily the last in this project. More people can come along and pick up from where I am at the moment and provide new conversation, new language, new ideas, better ideas, different ideas. But the idea is for us to create a democracy of, for, and by the people, to replace what we got, to educate the public to the sins of our current government, the horrible, cruel wars and other forms of destruction the USA has been upon the world. I can name some of the countries we've victimized: Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, El Salvador, Chile, Argentina, Guatemala, Panama, Puerto Rico, Mexico, and around the world, Syria, Yemen, Palestine, Libya, Iraq, Iran. Did I say Yemen? So many countries. Africa has a bunch. I didn't finish with Europe. We did evil in Ukraine. What is that noise? Wow. Well, when I talk, it goes away at least. I guess it's that car running near me. They keep their engine going. Oh, well. America, here be Joe Friendly talking, proposing we talk our way out of the tragedy that is currently a failure of democracy, a poor imitation of a democracy, a cruel, destructive force in the world. In addition to bombing, we undermine with secret agents and money democratic governments, democratically elected leaders we get rid of and replace with puppets. That's what America has been about since at least World War II. And we should, as a people, learn about these evil deeds of Uncle Sam. Books have been written, movies have been made that we should learn from as a people. Among the books I recommend are William Bloom. His books Killing Hope and Rogue State. Important books for us to read. We can read it out loud on public media, and we can read it ourselves publicly. But so many victims, so much destruction that our media did not inform the public of. They were complicit in these tragedies, these evil deeds. So, America, let's wake up. I was saying I made a scientific discovery, and people born in January, February are good judges because of the power of the sun in early neural development. That birthday amounts to the mathematical dimension phase of the solar energy sign cycle. Among other discoveries is that we can make some progress getting past the hang up with looks, appreciating the inner beauty, the differences in our neurological arrangements to provide for matching up people that have a spontaneous, natural appreciation of the way each other's minds work. That discovery is the birthdays of the pair 6 months apart. January and July, September and March, February and August, November and May, October and April, 6 months apart. I'm March 10 to match up with September 10. I've interacted with some. It's a open question. It's an open question how close they have to be to exactly 6 months. I don't know the answer. And another variable turns out to be the birthdays of the parents. If their parents have the same birthday or 6 months from the other parent's birthday, those could be useful things to pay attention to. Wow, it helps that car left. Those guys screaming were the other car. So, America, there is this Joe Friendly talking here, proposing a peaceful revolution. We talk through the changes we need, the choices we can make, the choices we can make happen. One thing I didn't do yet is smoke marijuana. That might improve the situation. This could be a demonstration. You've heard me talk now without the marijuana. Here comes some with. It's legal to smoke nowadays in Manhattan, although it's questionable where. Here it'd be right here on 10th Avenue, near where I live. But they don't call it 10th Avenue. They call it Amsterdam. Did I hear my phone? No. Somebody else's. So here it is, this little item here. Take off this rubber band and put it around my finger. Take this part here, fold it over, it snaps over, and I'll light it up. I hope I can. That's how long I held my breath. I try not to waste it by exhaling too soon. So that was one puff, and now a second puff. These little magnets hold things in place. Well, I had a little trouble lighting there, but you saw me hold it in there for I don't know how long. Let's see what time it is. 4:34 now. I'll put on the stopwatches. And we start it. So it takes a couple of minutes, I suppose, for the first and second puffs to have their chemical effect. But we'll see if there is improvement or the other direction to my thinking. I have been an advocate of marijuana since I started it in 1963. I even presented a case to the U.S. Supreme Court arguing that prohibiting marijuana violates our constitutional rights to pursue happiness and freedom of thought. That with marijuana I have thoughts that I don't otherwise have, and they are thoughts I value, and to be denied the means of getting there needs correction. When I got to the Supreme Court, the clerks were excited. They liked it. Some of them used marijuana. But the court itself refused to consider the case. The way our court works, they have to grant certiorari, and they didn't grant it to me in order for them to choose one of the cases they'll bother studying. So they didn't want to go any deeper into mine, but the argument's there. The American public is not at this point aware that George Washington grew marijuana and smoked marijuana along with Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. Madison said if it wasn't for marijuana, he probably wouldn't have got that excited about the idea of democracy, people thinking for their government instead of specialists. Or maybe I didn't put that so well, but anyhow, there is abundant evidence. Hemp was a mainstay of the dollar The dollar was maintained in the world market because of the sale of hemp. And hemp deserves appreciation as a surprisingly advanced form of nature. If you have opportunity to hold in your hands a stalk from the hemp plant, an adult stalk, and you break it in half, and you see the fibers in that stalk. There are many fibers. They are fine fibers, and they are strong. And the boat that brought America to happen, Columbus sailed on a boat where the sails were made of hemp and the rope was made of hemp. And for a time in America, at the time of Washington and Jefferson, it was a crime for farmers in Virginia not to grow hemp because it was a mainstay of our economy. But people didn't complain, I suppose, I hope. I don't really know. But it's not that tricky to grow. I've grown some. I once had several in my apartment with a nice window facing the sun. They do have an odor, a telltale odor that is not the odor you smell when you smoke it, but kind of an unpleasant odor, I'd say. Odor. Anyhow, the big point I want to stress about marijuana is that there is a distinction between marijuana and other drugs like tobacco, alcohol, heroin, cocaine, and that is that our own bodies have interacted somehow with the hemp plant many years ago because we manufacture within our own system what are called cannabis receptors, of which there are at least two kinds. They call them the ones and the twos, CB1s and CB2s. And they respond to chemistry of the natural events of the body. But when you smoke marijuana, they do again get response from these CB1s and these CB2s, these so-called cannabis receptors. Our bodies have evolved to interact profoundly. I've heard scientists discuss this interaction with CB1 and CB2 receptors. And the ones located in our nervous system, the scientists explain when they experience activation, like when we add some marijuana to our system by smoking it or eating it. The ones by our nervous system, they enhance synaptic connections that make our nervous system work better, stronger, more efficiently, more energetically. I was surprised. That was strong language when I heard it. The effect of marijuana on those cannabis receptors in our nervous system was to enhance, make stronger the connections between our nerve cells, called synapses. The interaction of the building blocks of our nervous system. Well, I'm glad to see that the delivery guy got rid of all the things. Post office. Oh, there was a postman with a forklift going by. But I'll keep the camera on me. Here's my microphone pointed good enough? I guess so. Let's see what happens if I hold it up real close. Now, is that better? What a difference it makes. We can talk about religion some. I got plenty to say on that subject. I discovered an author from Scotland, Chaim Maccabee, M-A-C-C-O-B-Y, Maccabee. Chaim Maccabee died around 10 years ago. He wrote several books, but two, I think, are worth America paying attention to, along with Killing Hope and Rogue State by William Bloom. Chaim Maccabee's books include Revolution in Judea and The Mythmaker, the writings of Saul, who changed his name to Paul to hide some of his Jewishness. Let me jump right into that matter. What I learned from Chaim Maccabee's book, I didn't name that, Revolution in Judea. That book. Revolution in Judea. I bought 40 copies of that book. I was so impressed with that book and gave them to my friends, my alma mater libraries. What Chaim Maccabee points out that we need to know about history is that around the time of Jesus, about 2,000 years ago, there was another Jew. In addition to Jesus, there was another one. According to Chaim Maccabee, his name was Simon, or how they might have pronounced it, Simon, S-I-M-O-N, the spelling. And the rest of the name, Bar, which I guess means son of, Kochba, K-O-C-H-B-A, Simon Bar Kochba. And he came upon the Jews around the time of Jesus and announced he was the Savior. And surprise, surprise, what the Jews did to him was bring him to the chief rabbi, Rabbi Akiva was his name, and say, hey, this guy says he's the Savior, check him out. And after 7 days examination, Rabbi Akiva announced to the people of Israel, the Jews of Israel, yes, this guy is going to save us from our problem, Roman occupation. At that time, the Roman Empire had extended itself to include Judah. They had taken over the government and controlled it with their military and appointed people who made choices in favor of Rome at the expense of the Jewish people. That was the problem at hand. And Simon Bar Kokhba said, "Hello, I have come. It is my calling. I plead for your allegiance to help me free us from the Roman Empire." And with the rabbi's blessing, the Jews did accept the leadership of Simon Bar Kokhba and did succeed in eliminating the Romans from their land. The military, the political, the economic, the Roman was gone. And the Jews enjoyed independence. As among us now in our world, the American empire has its victim, and occasionally one breaks through, like Venezuela, Cuba. They experience independence. Panama. And the Romans were not happy about that. They had a meeting in Rome, their leadership, that the empire was threatened by this gesture. Other victims of the empire, other countries in the control of the empire, they might get the idea of kicking the Romans out. And so the Romans wondered what to do about it, how to undo it. They had a meeting in Rome, and surprise, surprise, you would be surprised what they decided. They decided that they didn't know what to do, that they didn't have enough information, they didn't have enough expertise, that what they needed was the participation of one of their generals that was busy in Britain, trying to include Britain among the victims, members of the Roman Empire. And they didn't have telephones and such. They had to send a messenger from Rome to England and ask General Severus, was his name, Severus, the spelling. And it took some months for him to find a replacement to take over the military effort to subdue British to being willing servants of the Roman Empire. And he came to Rome and he heard the story and he said, instead of using the military right off the bat, let's use an embargo. Let's deprive that country of trade with other nations. We'll build ditches and walls and fences all the way around it. We'll encircle it, and we'll have military with that encirclement, and soften them up first and then use the military. And it worked, that the Jews were that dependent on trade that after about 5 years the Jews were totally demoralized. The Romans marched in, stole the golden goodies from the temple, destroyed it, destroyed whole cities, marched many Jews in chains after a boat ride to the bottom of Italy. They marched them with whips several miles a day to Rome, where they were then marched through the streets of Rome along with chariots full of the golden goodies they had taken from the temple and wherever else. They marched the Jews, hundreds of thousands of Jews marched through the streets of Rome now as slaves in chains for daring to try to be free of Roman occupation. And the point of the story is to understand Christianity as something cooked up by the Romans at that time, when they were so angry at the Jews for daring to resist their power, that throughout the Roman Empire, the emperor made it a capital offense, death, to anyone who said anything positive about Judaism. So when Paul created Christianity, he made the effort not to get killed, not to say anything positive about Judaism. Christianity is therefore a systematic opposition, a defilement of Judaism. Judaism was the idea of God beyond imagery. The God of the Jews was beyond imagery, an idea, a concept. And the religion that Saul created, that Rome created, was a guy helpless, suffering on a cross. And the blame, Jesus. Doesn't matter, it's pointed at me.
I'm sorry.
Hello, America. She was telling her daughters not to walk in front of the camera, but I was saying, don't worry, it's pointed at me. America, what was going on here? I'm talking about Christianity's creation at a time when the Romans made it a capital offense to say anything positive about Judaism. And they created a religion so different from Judaism. Judaism tried to do better than previous religions by their idea of God being beyond imagery and there being only one. The religions before them had many gods, a god for this, a god for that. The Jewish religion was one abstraction beyond words, beyond names, beyond imagery, that was the authority of the universe. That's what the Jews came up with. And the Romans were angry that they produced a leader that led them against Roman occupation. So they created a new religion in which people would bow, submit authority to an agent of Rome, the Pope. Instead of Judaism, obedience to a Pope. An altarpiece of a helpless, suffering, nailed to a cross man. Not progress. What are some of the ways Christianity is a defilement, a deliberate defilement of Judaism to satisfy the Romans? One example is choosing as the mother of their Savior, Jesus, Mary, choosing a woman who was betrothed to another, Joseph. When the Jews in their Old Testament, the Torah, made it out, spelled it out, that for any man to have sex with a woman betrothed to another would be such an abomination unto the Lord that he and his sex partner, the woman who had been betrothed, that he and her should be stoned to death by the people. That as a whole group, the people caused the death of this sexual act with a woman betrothed to another. And in Christianity, God's only begotten Son, Jesus, supposedly has for his mother a woman betrothed to another. I said in the Torah, it's an abomination. I want you to understand that word, abomination. I studied Latin in high school, so I know that AB in the front of a word means away from. And abmon, that M-O-N in that word means turn, move. It's something God moves his eyes away from, turns away from. God does not even want to see sex between a man and a woman betrothed to another, because it degrades the man expecting the virgin. Apparently, supposedly, in those days they made a big deal of virginity that is open to some discussion in these modern times. But the point is, a systematic defilement, choosing as the wife, the mother, not the wife, the mother, the mother of God's only begotten Son, choosing a woman betrothed to another, something God doesn't even want to look at, choosing to mate with. bizarre, wrong, crazy. Something the American people need to come to realize as they reconsider what religion for us in this modern time. For us to give new meaning to creation, to modernize our notions of morality, but to insist that we do have, at last, a moral order, that we are a people of good conscience, that act fairly, justly, morally, for a change. I do propose that happen, America. Those changes be made. We create new religions, new ways to be, new notions of what's right, that feel right, that are brought up to modern day senses of understanding. America, Joe Friendly here, proposing a new religion. Proposing birthday be a useful clue to how to make things better, that human nature is to be appreciated and studied in terms of birthday differences. I've also discovered that birthdays of the parents is worth some study. They contribute to significant, important differences that we best pay attention to, study, acknowledge, deal with. Hello! I propose we consider Chaim Maccabee's book, Revolution in Judea, to understand the history of Christianity, the role of Rome in creating a religion that was a step back from Judaism, that instead of advancing, it was a step back, diminishing the powers of the individual. Here comes something very, very controversial from my lips. Circumcision. I've developed a scientific argument for circumcision that I have not found elsewhere in the discussion. Many have come forward angered at parents disfiguring the infant when it should be the choice of the adult. How dare parents cut up their infant's sex organ, removing the foreskin. I offer a new argument for circumcision, that it causes an improvement in our mental functioning as our minds learn how to be activated, or no, what's the word? I should start with what are the tools of mind and language, the lips, the mouth, the tongue, the ears, the eyes. The baby is born, and those begin to develop: the eyes, the ears, the mouth. And what the Jews learned was if they added the tip of the penis to the near beginning of the learnings, it added energy to the thinking process, to the mental process. Circumcision energized the mind, an improvement for the mind. An improvement of our thinking ability. Something that doesn't happen if you do it late. The purpose of the foreskin, apparently in nature, was to postpone until adolescence, when the male gets a lot of erections and the penis extends outward and receives stimulation, and the young boy, older boy, the boy of 13 or whatever, he comes to realize what's going on down there between his legs, that his penis is an organ of pleasure. In nature's plan, we've evolved with the idea that at that point, as the boy becomes aware that his penis is for making babies and having pleasure in sex, that instead of encouraging babies getting made at 13, the Jews said, and civilization has decided, no, more like 18, 19, 20, 21, later. So nature's plan, sex awareness at 13, the Jews rejected and said, let's take that sexual energy and add that to the thinking process. And that's my argument for circumcision. That sexual energy added to our learning how to talk and think, how to talk to ourselves. America, appreciating circumcision not as cruel but as positive, developmental. More than keeping it clean, folks. Improving intelligence. And the way the Jews celebrate adolescence, the bar mitzvah is a celebration of the boy displaying his language abilities. Reading, singing, religious language, and the speech, typically. So, I propose Jews and Christians work it out, come up with a new religion that encourages morality, justice, the ways of the good conscience. The ways of the good conscience. We aim for that in the creation of a new notion of what we should consider holy, how we promote morality, how we discuss, share, is there a guy in the sky? I don't think so. But let's share our notions of truth, the authority of our acting moral. And for the record, it has now been 39 minutes since I took those 2 puffs of marijuana. And what's the total time here? 1 hour and 6. So, we'll put this out there on TV, The Antichrist, Joe Friendly, proposing a replacement of all our religions, learning what we can from Muhammad. Do we need to lay down on the floor? Do we need to bow? When, how, for what? I believe in truth. I believe in kindness. Let's provide freedom of choice where we can. I am proposing we do provide opportunity for people to live all white, all any particular race, or any particular value. We call it intentional communities. We allow people to choose who they live with, so they're happy. That element of modernity to how we arrange things. We let people have more of what they want in life and how they want it. One guy in Manhattan, originally from Chicago, with degrees in electrical engineering and law, some high school teaching in mathematics, electric theory, mechanical drawing. Some work in patent law for a corporation. Some work in Manhattan running a furniture moving company. That is the character. That's what's talking. That's who's talking. Let's zoom in on the face a little. There. So you get to see a little more. You take off the earphones. You can see more ears. America, meet Joe Friendly. Who proposes a new religion for our times. truth for our times, recognizing our government as an evil empire that we the people withdraw our consent from and replace it in a friendly revolution with people we choose, a new economic system that is oriented toward benefiting the people rather than taking advantage of the public, as is currently the going game with our commercial corporations, victimizing the public to benefit a relatively small number of rich people. Let's make that obviously needed change, America. Creating a government of, for, and by the people, and an economy of, for, and by the people, in which the public decide what do we need to make, how do we make it so that it's healthy. Pro-life. Doesn't destroy our planet, our environment. That is an urgent problem. That alone is reason to replace what we got. Oh, America, what we got is no good. Not only is it an evil empire unto the people of the other countries and its own citizens, but destructive of the planet for humankind for centuries. As it goes now, if things stay the way they are, the ice will melt, agricultural production will fall, cities will be underwater, animal species will be lost. We do have an urgency, and that is the logic of this talk. One guy saying, let's get that conversation going, beginning to create a government in waiting, planning now what is to be done with our new economic system, what goods to make, how to make them, creating new states, new cities, new towns, new villages by consent, but a morality in favor of the public, sharing the wealth systematically with the public. 46 minutes since that marijuana. Marijuana has been demonized, as I've said earlier, among its different roles.
Oh, you're making a commercial about that, Mark?
I'm pointing at me.
Oh, okay.
That guy asked me if I was making a commercial about the bar I'm facing, but you don't see that bar, you're seeing what's behind me. An unusual background, isn't it? It's the door of a powerhouse, an electric transformer station from our electrical company that runs the electricity in town, Con Edison. So, what are the changes we need? We can change our communication system so it isn't commercial. It's pro-public. Instead of annoying commercials, the design is what will make people the happiest, the most satisfied. What is the most desirable, useful, beneficial? That new orientation. Joe Friendly talking here. That's the idea of these conversations. Hopefully I'll find more people to talk with, and we'll get the public talking in these terms as we create a new America. Withdraw our consent from our evil ways of government, our obsolete economic system, and replace it with a solution to the problems of the environment, the economy, run of for and by the people for a change. I think that's about enough for a while. My name again, Joe Friendly. I hope what I've said didn't offend you. I am talking about new religion, new economic system, new politics, new government, new ways to be.